It's the last antique and vintage show of the season in the chilly north, so we are scarping up the bargains to take to our antique shows in sunny Florida. Let's see what they're willing to let us have before they go into hibernation. Come on, let's go. Oh, they are getting busy. They're opening a second entrance. And that means that they really are maxed out. And look at this parking lot. I am glad I got here early because it's definitely getting big. Is it? Wow. All right, in we go to the main part of the show. And yes, there's so much more. There's also indoor dealers. Last time I was here, I mainly got to see the indoor dealers, and the outdoor dealers, well, the wind and a little bit of rain was kicking up and they were running for cover. Today, it's beautiful weather. And I think the outdoor dealers are going to be the ones who are in the right place this time. Which means, by the way, one hint, if you were shopping a place like this, is maybe go inside when it's actually nice outside, because the inside dealers are going to be sitting there saying, gee, it's not very busy, because they can't see how many people are out here. So you might actually get better deals early inside. There are people who specialize in bottles here. There are people who are not specialists at all and just bring whatever they've got. And it could be old, and it could be vintage, and it could be newer, and it could be anything in between. But it's mostly antiques and vintage at this show, which is good. I like this ottoman here. $145. Well, ironstone is definitely coming back, partly because of the gray interiors, partly because Martha Stewart likes it now. And we've got some different pieces from some different eras. This one has a registry mark. See that diamond shape down there? If you look up the codes, you can tell exactly what year this was made. It'd be sometime in the 1870s, and you see the company mark there. Interesting shape. That one's priced at $22. This one's $18. This one is 20th century Redcliffe ironstone, made in the USA. And then this one, I believe, is also older, and it has the Imperial ironstone china, but it doesn't say made in England, so this is going to be about 1890. I think the shapes are what make them interesting to people collecting these days. So this booth belongs to Lori, and she was asking me about this sled, and I think it's really interesting. It looks to me like they took a sled and they actually cut it down to turn into this. I mean, this is so interesting. Snowflake. Yeah, it clearly was a sled. There's no doubt. But then in the back, you've got this that has sort of a nursery rhyme. So I think somebody took...
It's got the hinges here.
Yeah.
So you can either go without the wheels.
Oh, I see. So this was something so they could push their kid around. This is something somebody made by hand out of whatever parts they could find. And it's really, really interesting. I'd say 50s because of the way the wheels are done. And then they just put it together. That is so clever. They must have lived up here where it was snowy enough that they'd go out in the morning on wheels and back at night and sled. That's really, really fun. I've never seen anything quite like it because, you know, it's one of a kind. How much are you asking for that?
I was starting at like 300.
Yeah.
Sure. I saw a whole bunch of this
Snowflake, yeah.
But none of them had the wood. A lot of them had the aluminum.
Exactly. I don't know. To me, your price, why not? Because there isn't another one exactly like it. No. Awesome. These colors and these coupe shapes, coupe meaning no rim, were very popular about 1950. This one is the Aloha dinnerware by French Saxon China, which was another Ohio company, but it has the chartreuse and maroon and gray colors that were very popular around 1950. Well, the fellow right behind me looked at that set of china too and inquired, and it was only $10. You know, it's an off-brand. It's something you'd have to sell as a set because there's not a lot of people collecting that specifically, but for the look and the colors, and $10. And that stuff should all be microwavable and oven proof because it doesn't have any decoration on it. So, you know, old dinnerware, make sure you inspect your patterns to make sure that they don't have lead in the glaze. But a lot of old dinnerware did not have lead in the glaze and is really good to use every day and can be dishwashed and can be used just like anything else. I mean, you can't even get a box of new dinnerware off the boat from China for $10. So there's a bunch of Tupperware, a bunch of handbags, although these look more contemporary to me. And then this space has this interesting contraption, which I grew up in the country, but I have to say I don't quite recognize this. Is this a roost? It looks to me like this would be a roost for your 15 hens a laying. Okay, this is really cool. It's just a simple bench, but look at that old linoleum seat. I love that patterning. Old linoleum to me is just really cool. Sometimes you'll find full sheets that filled an entire room and they're still intact once in a while. We had one in an old house we were able to save at an estate sale once. Well, I see why I'm selling my screen print glasses, because they want 12 a piece for theirs. They've got Florida, they've got Reno, they've got Kentucky, they've got a lot of places I travel. Old stadiums, when they renovate or tear them down, definitely are something that people collect. These are out of the old Riverfront Stadium before they remodeled. And it says right here, Bench's HR captures a pennant and a city's heart. That's when Johnny Bench was with the Cincinnati Reds and they won. Nowadays, people use these inside their houses as theater seats, for example. Well, we're getting near the back of the show. We see the big cast iron dealer here. These folks were here. I got here last night and stayed in a motel that is literally the other side of a car dealership away from here. And there were people here at 11 at night unpacking. I'm sure some of these folks have been up all night long. Some old phones here. I always like this middle one. It's sort of a modification of the Princess phone when it went a little bit more squarish. And this one was by Automatic Electric. They called it the Starlight. Old rotary. And this is your classic 1950s Strongberg Carlson phone. Now, they have some cast iron names you don't see as often. Erie ended up being part of the Griswold and eventually Wagner group. Favorite is one we see. This is a favorite here. Martin of Florence, Alabama, because the stove and range companies a lot of times were the ones who also made these because they were making the big stoves that they went on. Miami, National, and there are people who definitely collect these. It's not just about Wagner ware, and it's not just about Griswold, although it's nice when you have this kind of a set. Look at this. They have everything from a number 3 to a number 9. In the skillets, and those look like they're in great shape with the larger Griswold mark. That's a great set there. Western Foundry of Chicago. My thought, keeps food tasty. That guy's sunburn must be keeping him warm, because it's nice out, but it's not that nice. I'm wearing a hoodie. There is just a lot of this show, and you know, a lot of these folks sell in Burlington too, but I have not gotten to do the Burlington show this year, and I still haven't sold at this one either, but it is on my list. Nice Roseville piece with the peony, a fairly common pattern, but a nice color in that. Aw, that was really neat. I just ran into a woman named Dorothy in there, and in spite of my frazzled look, she recognized me immediately and said hi, and she collects Fenton, and she said that she has over 500 pieces and is looking for some of the artware lines, and I had just seen a cat that was pretty good in another space, so I pointed it out to her, and they are negotiating. In Florida, now that the weather is getting better, we hope, it will be time for croquet pretty soon. And up north here, it's kind of the end of croquet season. So I was hoping maybe those would be $20 or $30. They're priced at $40, which is completely fair. Now, again, with the outdoor dealers, there's a little more randomness. Your specialists are indoors, but right now everyone's outdoors because they figure these are the people who are not going to be doing more shows, and they're going to be letting stuff go because the weather will turn cold here soon, and that will be the end of the season up north. Well, I'm sure Dorothy, who I met, who collects the Fenton, will have a great time at this table because they've got some really neat pieces. And of course, they have fairy lamps, and we're going to look at them. The custard glass is $48, which seems reasonable in this market. Like, you could make money on that. This one is signed, it's $75, and the red art glass one, a little later in time, is $160. Oh boy, and we've got the wind kicking up. This is part of why I don't use linens on my tables at outdoor shows, even though I know it looks better. Now this one is multicolored. It looks Czech, and sure enough, it says made in Czechoslovakia, but they couldn't see that mark because it's very thin. It's only $15. I think I'm going to get that. Lots of green depression glass that would fluoresce under a black light. Lots of lovely cranberry glass here. They do have a nice space, but I think I found the bargain in the space, and I'm very excited about that. Again, look for the thing that doesn't look like anything else. They didn't have any other spatter glass. They didn't have a lot of foreign glass. So here we go. Well, who are you? Oh, there's a bunch of you. Aw, hi there. Oh, she's so cute. And oh, you are too. Oh, yes, yes. You're not jealous, are you? No. That's right. Well, that's what we came for, yes. Nice blue colors in this quilt top here. A bunch of quilt tops, actually. Certainly like these. Well, at 30 a piece, there's some pretty good patterns in here. If I finish quilts, I'd be tempted to buy them at that price. There sure are a lot more people out than there were last time I was here, because the weather is definitely being perfectly cooperative. More green and pink depression glass, and a big pilgrim glass cranberry vase.
Yeah, I love the color of his windows.
Yeah, they are cool up in the light, aren't they? This is neat. It is marked with a placard saying it's the 1850 Derby between Voltigeur and Flying Dutchman. I'm not sure where that would have been held. The Kentucky Derby didn't start till 1875, but that's a neat sculpture. Well, I'm headed back from my second trip to the car. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And we do have a couple of new channels. Well, one isn't new at all. It's actually been going for over a year, but we are going to be doing more new content soon on the Antique Nomad Live. And we also have a new place called the Antique Nomad Shorts. And the shorts are going to be 1 minute or less videos, and they'll give a hint about something or show something fun and interesting. It'll be like eating potato chips. You'll think you want one and you'll end up with 10. This is pretty interesting. The staff and line officers of the 6th Regiment of Pennsylvania. This is in 1898 now. What this is a Grand Army of the Republic encampment. Civil War veterans would get together, and it was more of an excuse to get together and talk about the good old days and less about actually reenacting the Civil War. They got to live it the first time. For a baseball fan, this would be pretty cool. October 8th, 1956, the perfect game. The Dodgers were unable to get hit right before the Dodgers made their move to Los Angeles. That's a pretty neat piece. Maybe more so if you're a Yankee fan. And here's an unusual bat. This one is the Ohio Baseball Hall of Fame. So just people who were from Ohio who played, including Cy Young, who there's an award named after that's given out every year. This is really fun. This is an elephant cigarette dispenser from about 1930. The cigarettes would go in here. Remember, they're the unfiltered kind. And then you turn this and notice that there is a little place for the cigarette to go in the slot. Then it turns it down and out it comes out the bottom. That's a neat smoking collectible. Very heavy cast iron. And then a tin top. $45, which is actually a pretty fair price. And speaking of smoking stuff, here is a Dragonware cigarette box from the 1950s made in Japan. I just sold one of my latex glove mold hands, and I got about $30 for it, which is what they're asking for these. I bought a couple of these. They're new old stock that have been coming out of some warehouse find, but I'm not seeing them out much anymore, so I think they may all be distributed at this point, which means now prices will start to rise in all likelihood. But they have a few more here, so I'm going to see if they still might have a few at an inexpensive price, because I like being a member of the Planet Patrol. Seems like a good deal on some of these old tapestries and piano shawls, especially when they have a lot of color. It kind of depends on the motif. A lot of these are very traditionally Asian looking in style. A lot were made in Japan. I like the florals better, and this one seems like it's mostly floral, so let's take a look at that. Well, I found one that is not specifically an Asian design that I think will do well, and I sold my big, this one's Italian, and I sold my big Italian fabric yesterday in Seattle, the one with the cherubs. So I'm in the market. I am not sure what's going on with these guys, but they're kind of fun graphics. Boy, there's just so much stuff here and a lot of good things, and there are definitely good deals. I'm very happy with the Italian tapestry I just bought. Chalkware Girl for $42. She's a bagpiper. The Centella voice. This would have been something for recording, even though it looks like a phone. And then we have
Wild Bill Hickok and Spelter. $45 is not a bad price on this. I've sold that for $65 before. I don't know that I'm going to get too far past the outdoor dealers because time is running short, but I showed the indoor dealers in a prior video, and so you can check that out. I also wanted to say, please do click the links below or click the join button if you see that above to find out more about memberships. We have a couple of different membership tiers, and we are very grateful to our members. They really help us produce extra content and do some things above and beyond the usual. So thank you so much for your support. This is an unusual thing. This is an angle lamp. This is a kerosene lamp that would have actually had the flame and the lanterns go out to the side. This would have been so that you would have gotten more mileage out of one tank of gas by the Angle Lamp Company. Hard piece to find. I'm going to see if we can find out how much it is just because you don't see it very often. Well, these folks are looking at it now, but I was just talking to the dealer, and he said in Dayton, Kentucky is a dealer who does a lot of old lamp parts, and apparently that's in the general northern Kentucky region here, and you can get the bent shades for these. If you were willing to do that, depending how much they were, this could be a great deal with $75. It's just you have to do a little work. This was so cool looking and so uncomfortable, and it's sold. This is frizzelle. It is a certain fabric done, it's like a brocade. You get this really deep sculpting, which is great. It also tended to snag a little, so that could be a problem. And it's really kind of stiff. It's almost like mohair. So not the most comfortable thing to sit in, but a really cool thing to look at. At some point, I'm going to have to find a good reg seller who will spend some time with us and talk to us about what to look for in antique carpets. There's wool and silk. There's all sorts of patterns. They're made in various places all over the Middle East and into Asia, and there's just a lot to know about patterning and how to tell newer from older. I know some of it, but I'd really like to find an expert to tell you more, so we'll work on that. Looks like somebody made a sale. $300 took that really wonderful Garland stove in great condition from about 1925 to 30. Here is our indoor group, and it does seem like people are filtering in here now, so hopefully they'll have a great show as well. These are really cool. Seaboard Coastline. These are from an old railroad station. The Silver Star. Coach seats reserved. $150 each or $250 for the pair if you are a railroad buff. That might be a must-have. And just another room full of really cool stuff here. There are some good dealers in here. I did very well buying in here last time. I wish I had more time to show you now. I really have to be selective. And since I showed more of this last time, I'm going to go outdoors and show you the covered sheds instead. I have a viewer who really enjoys seeing looms, so here's an example. Looks like they're only asking $40 for that frame. This is sadly going to be a short visit to a bunch of really great dealers who are in here. I've run into some really great viewers, and actually a couple of folks who I've become friends with who were viewers ran into me in here the first time, and we all got to meet and hang out. It was a lot of fun. This is a fun TV lamp, $27.50 for this big shell. That is neat. This guy's got a fun booth I remember from before. He's got that great cork lamp right in the middle. Orange suitcases, $25 on the small one. That's not a bad price. And look at this guy. The riding horse from the 1930s. You can tell by those wheels with the C's on them. That is really something different. It's priced at $175. It's a little threadbare from having been ridden a few times, but it is cool. What culture is this? I don't recognize the... Yeah.
Greek.
Oh, it's Greek. Okay, interesting. And all of the silk wow, the embroidery is amazing on that. Greek Orthodox, yeah, well, that explains it. Very neat. These are curious. What are these from?
I honestly don't know.
I don't either. I mean, they're molded like fiberglass. Animatronic figures, yeah. Oh, they're really something. I like them. And $65 each is a great price if you could figure out what to do with them.
Stretcher in the back, putting a light fixture and hanging them as sconces.
Oh, they would be great as sconces. Oh my gosh. It's sort of a whimsical gargoyle. I love it. One nice thing about being under the awning is that they can bring some different things. And this fellow has some nice arts and crafts furniture. Only $140 on this little desk that's been redone. That seems like a very good price. Arts and crafts is expensive if it's marked Stickley or one of those companies, but Some of these more basic pieces are actually pretty affordable. $129 on the pickled bamboo is not a bad price. I really like this magazine rack. It's got that American mission oak, they would call it. That was actually supposed to be kind of a pejorative, like, well, this is something you'd find in a mission because it's basic, but that was the idea, was to be elemental and not overwrought. And $79 is a great price on that. $59 on these brass aviator bookends, which would have been done in the time of Lindbergh. And the Art Deco dental cabinet, I love these. Everybody loves them now. People like lots of things with little drawers. That's priced at $559. But they've got this wonderful Art Deco mirror, probably English, above it that is $49. That is a good deal. If I could find another $49, I might take that with me. This looks like it's Lotz or Lutz type, and it is beautiful.
Very little.
$265 on this piece, and it's quite tall. That seems like a good deal for what it is. This Trojan helmet looking thing is actually a ventilator cover, so the rain doesn't come into your ventilation there. This would have probably been on some sort of a shed for animals, I would think, like a chicken house. A lot of people are saying that scales are starting to trend, partly because people are being more conscious about food, but in this case, just mainly for decoration. This one is amazing. It is $295, which seems like a pretty good price for it. You can see this one has some age because it has the W.T. Avery and Company, Makers Birmingham, to weigh 15 pounds. I think the chains may have been replaced, but boy, that is a handsome piece. This is in really good condition. Fair's beer, so it's similar to a Coca-Cola cooler, but a harder to find piece because, number one, it is a brewing company and a regional one, so they wouldn't have made a ton like they did of Coca-Cola. And number two, because there's its original box, so you know the condition's good. $295 for that condition, for that scarce a piece, is actually pretty reasonable. This flapper, smoking the Old North State Superfine Ready Rolled Cigarettes, is $165. The plateau mirrors here are a good deal, $25 on the little one, $35 for the larger. I might take the smaller one for $25. Because of the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and general interest from older people, there was a brief period of time in the late 60s where horseless carriages and real antique cars, which were about 50 years old at the time, started to catch on with younger people. And so this remote control Flying Dutchman car by Remco was the result of that. And it's in its original box, so I'm not going to take it out, but it looks like it's an old Stanley steamer with that round front end. And this one is priced at $90. This might do well in St. Petersburg because St. Petersburg is the world center for shuffleboard. We have the big shuffleboard court right down the road from where I live there. It's been there since the 1920s. They've had several national championships there. This is going to be an advertisement for a company that made shuffleboard parts. And it is going to date to probably 1940 in these colors. It is priced at $245. I have never seen anything shuffleboard related for sale before, so that's different. And then appropriately enough, we have a lot of American oak because a lot of it is found in this part of the country. A fair amount came from this part of the country originally, including the Sellers cabinet from Indiana. We're in Indiana right now. I like this little piece for $150. I saw another one for $125. These are pretty good prices because the marble tops are starting to come back. There's just so much here today. This shed is full, and this shed, which had nobody in it the last time I was here, is also full. At Farm Chicks in Spokane and other farmhouse related shows, I see people using these in display. It's a really cool thing. They roll. You could certainly use it at home, but you'd have to be putting something big that won't fall through the cracks, obviously. I think originally it was for laundry. I always liked this style chair. Very modernist. We're right by Ohio, so you're going to see a lot of great ceramics. Roseville bookends are a relative bargain right now, only $60 for the Snowberry. Incredible to me because this used to be $100 more easily. And at $60, it's pretty close to buyable. Nice Hager earth wrap for $45, nice pair of flamingos for $45. And then this is Sèvres, Paul Millet. So this is a 20th century piece of theirs. But the MP Sèvres mark may be different from the famous porcelain making Sèvres that I know. Nice little piece of Royal Gouda. MDE is the company, $35. Seems like a good price for a form you don't see as much. Usually see vases, don't see bowls quite as often. A whole bunch of ruby flash souvenir pieces from about 1900. These were so popular because it was relatively inexpensive, and then you could etch initials in, so they were sold at World's Fairs, state fairs, other events. You could have your name and the year, 1902 in that case, etched on it. Dora Heller got this piece. They've just got quite a bit of it. Now, most of these pieces are going to sell for $10 or $15, but there are some sleepers as well. Don't really see this very often. Oh yeah, Grand Coulee is Washington State, where I'm from. Here's another one. Now this one I think is the most likable I've seen because of the heart shape. Souvenir from Canada. That is actually very sweet. And that might have to go with me. It's a little rough right there though. The one time I have an empty van and I haven't found any furniture, but I do like these old sterilizers.
I'm asking 100 on the couch, man.
100, it's cool.
Yeah, I like that one. It's pretty cool.
I like that one too. This is a different kind of tire ashtray in that it's thin, but it is General Tire, and there's General in it. And it's got the match holder. Yeah, definitely 30s. It's a cool one. A little different than you usually see with these. How much is that?
I have 25 on it.
25? That's pretty reasonable for what it is. So this is a barrel making hammer. I have never heard of such a thing. Oh, interesting. So it's got all the different dies on the ends. Wow, that's really cool. Well, I'm looking a little windblown, and I've just about spent all my money, and I definitely spent all my time. I would love to show you more from Lawrenceburg. Hopefully I'll show you more as a dealer next season, but I'm glad I got to take you to the last show of the season here, and we will have more fun doing this, kind of looking around at wonderful antiques and vintage, looking for some bargains, and some things that we can just talk about that are interesting and good to know more about. So we'll see you here. Bye for now.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.